Friends, Gopal Godse is the brother of Gandhiji's assassin, Nathuram Godse. He has written a book, Gandhi Hatya Animi. The book is in Marathi, and I have read it a long time back. Recently, I read a review written by Narhar Kurunkar of this book, Gandhi Hatya and Me. If you have not heard of Narhar Kurunkar, you should definitely check him out. In all my readings, I have found few who are endowed with such analytical abilities. He is a critic, a writer, and a thinker. He writes mostly in Marathi and therefore he is sometimes not well known outside of Maharashtra. He writes on topics related to history, politics, culture, and religion. I respect him a lot. Anyway, getting back to the story. Having read this review, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know about the cast of characters and their motivations. I wanted to uncover the historical stories and events surrounding the assassination. And I wanted to understand the impact of Gandhiji's assassination on the politics and culture of India. Friends, welcome to my podcast, India on My Mind. Here we will wander through the vast landscape of India's history, culture, and its religions. We are in search of fascinating stories and interesting facts that are not a part of the curriculum. Today, we are going to explore the events surrounding Gandhiji's assassination. Initially, I had planned to do just one podcast on this topic. But as I started reading and researching, I came to the conclusion that it is impossible to cover all this in one podcast, and that it is best that I break up the topic into multiple sections. So here is the order I intend to follow in the coming podcasts. Before we get to the story itself, I will share with you the information sources I uncovered in the last 2 weeks of my research. Next, we will explore the motivation behind the assassination. We will follow after that the background of the assassins. We will then see if there really was a conspiracy and who knew about it and when. After that, we will trace the events leading to the failed assassination attempt on January 20, 1948. Next, we will follow what transpired between January 20 and January 30, the events that culminated in the fatal shots being fired at Gandhiji in Delhi. In the last 2 podcasts in this series, we will deal with the impact of the assassination and the trial and conviction of the assassins. Let us begin. As I have said, in my journey I came across a treasure trove of sources. First unexpected gem I found was the affidavit of Nathuram Godse himself. This is the statement read by him at his trial in the Red Fort courthouse. The government of India had banned the publication and distribution of this document for about 20 years after 1948. I did not know that this was available as a book. It is titled May It Please Your Honor. This book was published by his brother Gopal Godse, the same person who wrote and published Gandhi Hatya Animi. Nathuram Godse's affidavit was not just a legal submission. It was obviously meant to convey his message to posterity. His attempt to present his side of the story for the historians. It was also an attempt to exonerate his brother and friends from the murder of Mahatma Gandhi by taking all the blame on himself. The author also wished to document that he loved his country, that he was sound of mind and had clear thinking, that the murder was a political assassination. Lastly, he wished to document that there were many who were sympathetic towards this act of political assassination. The next unexpected and remarkable discovery was the book, The Last Glimpses of Bapu, written by Manuben Gandhi. Manuben is the young girl who is seen standing at the side of Gandhiji in many photographs. She was his grandniece, who was with him 24/7 during the last years of his life. She was also next to him when he was shot. Her account of the events before, during, and after the assassination are vivid, moving, and utterly believable. When I actually describe the scene of assassination, you will see that Nathuram Godse had to push away Manuben before he could shoot Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi is no more, but both Godse and Manuben are now speaking to us through their writings about the events at the point of assassination. Honestly, I find that quite fascinating. It is more than what I expected when I started my exploration. The next source I want to mention is a book by Manohar Malgonkar titled The Men Who Killed Gandhi. What I liked about it is that Malgonkar had an opportunity to speak with many of the living actors in this drama, and he was given documents in their possession. I also agree with Malgonkar that the conspirators felt comfortable with him as he spoke fluent Marathi. He could connect with them and was given access to rare documents. I found this book to be unbiased and reliable. In contrast, there is a book written by Justice G.D. Khosla. The book is titled The Murder of Mahatma, with a small subtitle, and other stories. I thought this was rather a trickery, as the main title is a very small part of the book. To make things worse, the matter is handled rather superficially. It is a lightweight book, a disappointment. In contrast, there is a gripping story told by P.L. Inamdar in the book The Story of the Red Fort Trial 1948 to 1949. Inamdar was asked to represent Dr. Perchure, a physician from Gwalior, who was tried for participating in the conspiracy and aiding the assailants by helping them procure a gun. As would be expected from any good lawyer, Inamdar's presentation of his own story and Perchure's case is compelling and persuasive. I learned a lot about the cast of the characters from Gwalior from this book. The book is definitely to be recommended. The most authentic and detailed version of the events is to be found in the report by the Kapoor Commission. This commission, headed by Jeevan Lal Kapoor, was established in 1966 to look into the actions of various government agencies before the Gandhi assassination. The commission took detailed depositions from many of the actors and examined all the evidence in great detail. Their conclusion is shocking. It was shown beyond a shadow of doubt that the government agencies had actionable intelligence for a full 10 days before the assassination, and yet they chose to do pretty much nothing. Their failure was a result of sloth, bungling, petty administrative rivalry, and just gross incompetence. Again, for those who are interested, I would definitely recommend this report if you want more details. Next comes the book, Freedom at Midnight by Lapierre and Collins. It is obviously a well-written dramatization of the events. It is based on historical facts. However, one can sense that there is a slant in the presentation. The use of derogatory adjectives and adverbs is quite unnecessary and makes one question the objectivity of the authors. I feel that they started with a bias, and then they swallowed the party line that was fed to them by the cast of characters that were in position of power and prestige at that time. The newspaper articles in India at that time, as well as those published abroad, are rather unrevealing. They were of no more interest than as merely as objects of curiosity due to their date of publication. I really did not find investigative journalism of the highest order in them. Similarly, I was not impressed by the 1962 novel 9 Hours to Ram and the 1963 movie based on this novel. Both these were lightweight and lacking in authenticity. Their focus was definitely on dramatization and less on evidence and reality. Finally, an honorable mention should be made of the French photojournalist Henri Cartier-Bresson. Mr. Bresson was the last person to take photographs of Mahatma Gandhi before his death. These photographs were taken one day prior to the assassination. I really don't believe that there were any photographs taken actually on the day of assassination. Lastly, let me say a few words about Gandhi Hatyani Me, the book written by Gopal Godse. The intent of the book is to show love of the motherland and to explain the motivation behind the political assassination. It does that well. Gopal Godse had a side role in the whole drama and at best had some passing knowledge of what was unfolding initially. When reporting events, he is at his best when telling us about the trial and what happened subsequent to that. Lastly, he has also used the book to complain about the vindictiveness of the government in not releasing him earlier. Overall, a must-read for anyone who is doing research on this topic. Friends, it was interesting to read the accounts provided by those who were directly involved, or those who had first-hand knowledge of the events. In my next podcast, I will discuss the motivation behind the assassination and the impact of the Gandhi assassination on the politics and future of India. Dear listener, Thank you for listening to this podcast. You can also check out other interesting episodes in our series, India on My Mind.